It's time to get your geek on with Dave Gramillion.
Ah, yes. Welcome here. I am Dave Gramillion. This is Get Your Geek On, where we will talk Star Wars, Star Trek, DC, Marvel, video gaming, really all things geek that have dominated this little world of ours. You see, geek is not what it was 20 or 30 years ago. Geek is in. Geek is very in. Geek is now the mainstream, and we are here to talk the latest and greatest that is geek right here on 9:30 a.m. The Answer Talk Radio and 9:30 a.m. TheAnswer.com. This is Season 2, Episode number 30. The Big 3-0, and tonight we have a special guest host in-house. We will be introducing him momentarily as Minion is on assignment. We got a little bit of show news we want to talk about involving PAX South and what you all can expect from us coming up there next week. It is literally around the corner. Have some Star Wars news, of course. That seems to dominate the news every time it comes around. What do we know about the Han Solo movie, and what is going on with this Christian Bale talk? We'll talk about that and wrap up our discussion regarding The Last Jedi as well. Star Trek is finally back in the news. Discovery will be coming back momentarily, and we'll be talking about that as well. Kind of refreshing things a little bit and trying to figure out where they're going to go from here. And we have some Will Wheaton news. It's been nice. We haven't had a lot of Will Wheaton news lately. Nothing against the guy personally, but man, every time he talks, it just makes waves and headlines. We'll be talking about something that he's not exactly happy with as well. Jodie Foster, speaking of people who are not entirely happy, she apparently believes the comic book movies are the worst thing in the history of ever. We'll be talking about what she said and what we think about what she said and what you think about what we think about what she said. Also, 2008, 10 years ago, was quite the magical year for geeks. You could say that it was when geeks really became mainstream. We'll be talking about that as well. Quite the banner year. 10 years of geek dominance is all starting to come to a head here. Alrighty, so without further ado, without further gilding the lily, let me make sure that I have everything I need in order to run the premier talk radio show for geeks in the United States and rapidly around the world. And that's the first thing I need is I need something to drink. Because if you're going to talk for almost an hour, man, it's good to have something right there for you. And also, I like to have a back scratcher on hand. People laugh at me whenever I say this, but I tell you, man, when you get that one spot in the middle of your back you can't reach, and you all know what that spot is, it's good to have one of these around, especially when you've got like a guest online or something, and you don't want to sit there and squirm and get all distracted and stuff. And if you're going to have any type of a geeky show, I don't care if it's talk radio, podcast, whatever, by God, you better have yourself a lightsaber. And I have True Blue, which has retired my old blue lightsaber. This one was gifted to me by our friends over at Saber Forge, and I do thank them very much for that. I also was able to get my hands on my sonic screwdriver for Doctor Who, so there we go. I am covered. We are rip-fired and ready to go. I am also decked out in geeky apparel. I do have my Star Wars Rebel Alliance hat, and I'm wearing my Star Wars old school arcade game t-shirt, so I'm covered there. To my left, that would be your right as you look across the radio dial. Normally you would see our beloved Minion. He is our co-host here, but he is on assignment and was not able to join us tonight. Instead, we were able to bring down all the way from Central Texas, made the drive all the way down I-35, braved the traffic, as it were. He is the Global Membership Director of the Saber Guild Jakku Temple. And we want to welcome here into the studio Mr. Paul Trupia.
I have my own theme music, huh?
Oh, all of our guests do. It's give you a little something, get you pumped up, get you fired up.
Wow. Feel like I need to launch some proton torpedoes.
And Paul, how you doing?
I'm well, thank you very much. I really appreciate the invite to come on down here and help you out host this great show.
Well, yeah, you gotta have three in here. Otherwise, it's just me and Goose, and that ends up devolving into a fist fight after a while.
At least one thing gets thrown.
Oh, that at least. So that's always good news. And you are more than decked out in geeky apparel. Let everyone know. Well, what are you wearing here?
Well, I decided to augment my Levi's blue jeans with a Boba Fett t-shirt.
Nice.
My official Saber Guild Jakku Temple racing shirt.
Nice.
completing the look and the ensemble, I have topped off with a Scum and Villainy Cantina hat that I acquired in L.A. at the Scum and Villainy Cantina on Hollywood Boulevard.
That is fantastic. I love that hat. That is a really awesome hat.
It's an awesome cantina. It's dressed up just like Mos Eisley. You go in there, you can have some blue milk if you want. It's awesome.
Blue or green now?
This was blue because it's Mos Eisley.
Okay, all right. Well,
It's not the Act 2
that makes sense.
cantina, you know?
Now, if you're wondering why we're talking about what we're wearing and the hats and whatnot, it's because we also do a Facebook Live broadcast along with when we record the show, and that's the camera right up there so we can wave to everybody. That's over at facebook.com/GYGO radio. If you look further to my left, your right, across the radio dial, you will see the man spinning the ones and zeros, our beloved sound prognosticator. He is Goose.
Oh, haha.
I'm Batman.
No, you're Goose.
Not today.
I'm Batman.
And Goose, what are you decked out in there?
Well, I'm wearing my very basic black Batman t-shirt because...
I'm Batman.
There you go.
It feels like you're trying to get something across. Some point, I don't know what it is, though.
I'm Batman.
I guess we'll just have to muddle through and figure it out later on. Listen to the show a couple times, maybe we'll get it then. Now, Paul, what exactly is the Saber Guild Jakku Temple chapter?
So, Saber Guild Jakku Temple is the Central Texas chapter or temple of Saber Guild. Saber Guild is LFL, Lucasfilm Limited's preferred costumed lightsaber choreography group. So what we do is we get dressed up in Star Wars costumes, and we perform lightsaber choreography. We do Padawan trainings for children, give them a little Jedi certificate and interact with them. Anything to enhance the evening for whatever Star Wars event is out there.
So this is something y'all do for yourselves then?
No, absolutely not. First and foremost, we are a charitable organization. We do everything for charity, whether it is just raising awareness for Make-A-Wish or the Texas Lions Camp, which is near and dear to us, or community events, Star Wars Reads Day down at a local library. Those types of events is what we do. That's what we're all about.
Now, speaking of Star Wars events, I understand you were at one sometime mid-December, early December, somewhere around there, was it?
Yeah. So I was fortunate enough to be invited, be one of the fans invited to the Star Wars global premiere, which was an incredible experience. And if anybody has reached out and seen my Facebook page, they know that it's smattered with Mark Hamill pictures. I was fortunate enough to be dressed up as Luke Skywalker in Episode 7. Had to wear a wig. So I see the eyes. I had to wear a wig, but fully decked out in Episode 7 costume of Luke Skywalker. And Mark Hamill walked up, looked at me, and said, "You look more like me than I look like me."
Wow.
And then
that's high praise.
Proceeded to sign my mechanical hand, which was awesome.
Nice. And of course, the other hand then was touched by...
I'm not going to say that, I did not make contact with Daisy Ridley's hand, but I am a married man and can't say that, so.
Very cool.
Now, I can guarantee you he spoke more that night than Mark Hamill did in Episode 7.
You're absolutely right.
Absolutely guaranteed.
Could you imagine how Episode 7 would have ended if he would have said, "Ray, you look more like me than you do"?
Now, y'all also had something come out toward the end of last year. You debuted it at Wizard World Austin.
Yes. What you got to see was a sneak peek.
Well, yeah, a little bit.
So what we did, we had partnered with an incredible, talented cinematographer named Greg Risley. We actually met him at the Buda Wiener Dog races, which, by the way, if you ever get a chance to attend...
Those are awesome.
They're awesome. You ever see a wiener dog run its little heart out for a squeaky toy? It's one of the best entertaining things for the weekend. But luckily, we met Greg there, and he said, "Hey, guys, I got an idea. You want to shoot a fan film?" Sure. And what we didn't know is just what type of equipment Greg had, and it turns out that he had a 4K RED camera, which gave the film a true cinema look. Mm-hmm. And we've been sharing it all over the place. It's called Nightfall. If you look it up on YouTube, if you do Nightfall with a K, say Star Wars, it'll pop right up, and you can see some fine demonstrations of some choreography, lightsaber choreography.
The choreography was just fantastic. all the way around. Usually you look for that, okay, that duel wasn't so good. Oh, this one was really exceptional. They were all really good. It was really well-rounded.
We tried to really incorporate everybody's style. We got some guys that dual wield in there. We got some guys that are true single saber wielders. We really tried to encapsulate, just to show off the choreography. What we didn't realize is when everything was edited and done, we're only second to Revenge of the Sith as far as on-screen lightsaber choreography.
Nice.
So that was amazing. Greg did a painstaking process of rotoscoping the sabers. He did mention that we will never do it in the woods again because trying to rotoscope a saber behind a tree is very challenging.
I can imagine. I can absolutely imagine. Now, where can people find out more about the Saber Guild Jakku Temple?
You can check us out on Facebook. Just do a Facebook search for Saber Guild Jakku Temple if you're local here. But if you are anywhere else in the country, Saber Guild has temples all over the world. We have temples in New York and New Jersey, Florida. California's littered with them, Washington State, but we also have Costa Rica, we have Peru, we have Ecuador, we've got 2 in Italy, and we have 1 in Japan.
Wow.
So more than likely anywhere you go where there's a convention, there'll be a Saber Guild presence. And if it's not in your local town right now, it's coming because it's something that's just been exploding lately.
Well, and speaking of something that's going to be exploding lately, that'll be PAX South next weekend where we are going to be. Are you coming down?
I will not be able to make it. I have another engagement that weekend.
Alrighty. Well, we are definitely going to be covering it for all 3 days. That's the 12th, 13th, and 14th.
Speaking of things that are going to explode, look for Starkiller Base 2 in Episode 9.
Yeah, boy, no kidding. Now, one of the things that I'm looking forward to, PAX South always has just a wealth of gaming going on down there, but we're going to have 2 different interviews going on at the convention. First is going to be, we're speaking to the owner, Jerry Holkins. We are going to have a sit down with him. He owns all of Penny Arcade Expo, so we'll chat with him about the event. And also, I was able to secure an interview with Michael Dante DiMartino. And if that name rings a bell a little bit, if you've seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, then you know that name because he is the co-creator of that series and The Legend of Korra. We will be talking to him exclusively, a nice sit-down interview with the co-creator, Michael Dante DiMartino. So look for that coming up on our Facebook page as well.
There's also a X-Wing miniature series open at PAX South.
At PAX South, and so many tournaments.
Yep.
So many tournaments going on down there at PAX South. All right, so with that being said, let's go ahead and we'll hit the show proper here, and we're going to talk a little bit of Star Wars news.
I'm looking forward to completing your training. In time, you will call me Master.
Alrighty, so The Last Jedi is now officially behind us, and we can now look forward to the Han Solo movie.
Do we have to look forward to it?
I'm really not sure. I really need a great trailer to get me hyped about this film. I don't see the need for a Han Solo movie. I don't see the need for a Kenobi movie. If they do a Yoda movie, I'm out. I'm done. I don't want to know anything about Yoda. Keep him shrouded in mystery, please.
Well, the great part is that they do a Darth Maul movie, the runtime will be in half.
Hey-oh. Wow. Good gracious.
I think that's the same with Snoke, right?
Yeah. You could say that all the merchandise now will be half off. So there you go. Ooh. But what we do know about the Han Solo movie is that John Williams, who before has said he will not write for the standalone movies, will write a piece for the Han Solo movie. Don't know why he chose this one in particular, but okay. John Powell will compose the score, but John Williams will sneak something in there for himself. John Powell, if you haven't heard the name before, he's known for his work on Shrek, Rio, and How to Train Your Dragon. He's done a number of other works independent of those, but those are really what he's best known for. And this came out, I believe it was Wednesday or Thursday, and this was some interesting news. Christian Bale admits that he might have been in the Han Solo movie. He recently appeared on Josh Horowitz's podcast called Happy, Sad, Confused, in which he said this, quote, "Yes, it was very tempting. I not only love the films going back to my childhood, but also have a very long relationship with Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall because they did Empire of the Sun many years back. There was discussion, and I hope there will be future discussions. How did we get discussions about Christian Bale in the movie and it didn't happen? That he never went into, and I can't believe they didn't follow up with that one. How do you have the discussion? Yeah, you know what? I was in a lot of Batman movies. You may have heard of me, American Psycho. You know, I'd like to be in this one. How did he not get in this film?
Simple.
I'm Batman.
That's what everyone would look at. They'd see him in the Han Solo movie and they go, wait a minute. So we have Han Solo, we have Chewie, we have Woody Harrelson, and now we have...
I'm Batman.
Although for him it'd be, I'm Batman. I'm now in a Han Solo movie.
Oh, Lord.
You have that nice, deep, gravelly voice there.
He'd be Chewbacca's ugly twin brother.
Yes.
Yeah, I could see that. Absolutely. Especially if he grows out that big scruffy beard like he had in Batman Begins.
Yep.
Oh man, that'd be I could definitely see that.
Oh, I know we're crossing a little franchise here, but
Make it so.
I don't know how they didn't do this. It makes sense to me. I don't. It'd be fun, even if it's just a cameo, like they did with even with Daniel Craig. I mean, no, just fine, put him in there. Who cares?
So, as we mentioned, we do a little Facebook live action. And so Barry from our Facebook chat said, will Han be the only one shooting in the movie?
He'll be the first one shooting in the movie.
That's it.
He should be the first person to shoot anything in the movie. It's got to be Han Solo. Now, going a little further into what Christian Bale was saying, by the way, the Han Solo movie is scheduled to come out on May 25th. Memorial Day weekend there. He admits that he has not seen anything with Ben Affleck as Batman.
I find that hard to believe.
He hasn't seen Justice League?
Really? I haven't. I cannot believe that.
I can see him skipping Suicide Squad. I can see that, but he didn't see Batman Superman? Really? Okay. He says, yes, I'm interested in seeing it. My son seems like he was really interested. But then I realized he just wanted to see the trailer, and that was it. He must have a really young son, I suppose. I tend to go see films that my kids want to see. I have to confess, I am not a huge superhero film fan. I can see that. A lot of people that are that close to it, typically they don't want to see it. Remember when we interviewed Marina Sirtis?
Yes.
And she said that she had never seen, to this day, had never seen an episode of Gargoyles.
Well, to be fair, just because you're really close to it doesn't mean you don't like superhero movies, and we'll talk more about that in the second half of the program.
Well, could it not be something that you're so exposed to, you're so entrenched in, that you get kind of tired of it?
It's entirely possible.
You know, I mean,
a little burnout.
All the fanfare. He did 3 films.
True, and not only that, but it's not just limited to DC films. He goes on to say, quote, I've not seen any of the Avengers films or any of those films at all. I hear they're very good, but I'm quite happy just hearing they're very good. So that means that Christian Bale has not seen a Marvel movie. Not one.
Not buying it.
Marvel movie. Yeah.
Not buying it.
Not one.
I mean, like the Bale household doesn't have Netflix. You
Like-
couldn't, Guardians of the
maybe
Galaxy
he's working
2?
while his kids are watching him on Netflix. He's a busy actor.
That's possible. Maybe he's on location or something. But really, with his kids there, he's never seen Ant-Man. He's never seen Iron Man. He's never seen Thor. He's never seen Hulk. Really?
Come
on.
I'm not buying it, Christian. Sorry.
Yeah. Speaking of The Last Jedi, we'll wrap this up here quickly. It did finish 2017 as the top domestic film at the box office.
Oh, yeah.
$539 million domestic compared to $504 for Beauty and the Beast. 8 out of the top 10 movies, domestic box office, are geeky films.
And you know exactly how many Oscars geeky films will get this year?
0. That's right. Now, Jumanji finally knocked The Last Jedi off the daily top spot. It still hung in there for the weekend. But the film is still roughly $200 million behind The Force Awakens. So it's still on pace with my prediction of $1.6 billion. So it's about right where it should be. Definitely not a box office flop. With that being said, and in the little bit of time we have left here, let's go ahead and talk some Star Trek news.
Yeah. If you see Klingons, better make sure that your face is out. And if you're in the fleet, grab your uniform, cause it's future chic. All the haters know we got like photon torpedoes. Throw the Vulcan up if you're not from Romulus and stay with me now, live long and prosperous.
Just beat me up, Scotty. Just beat me up, Scotty. Just beat me up, Scotty.
Got to Kirk out.
This is brought to you by our friends over at Laser Legend. Laser Legend is on the north side of San Antonio, off of 1604 and Lookout Road. Not quite to Rolling Oaks Mall, not quite to I-35 either. We were over there just this past weekend where we enjoyed their 2-floor spacious, wonderful laser tag arena, of which I utilized most of it. Had a great time shooting goose. A lot.
Yes, but I beat you the first game.
You sat there and just shot the base.
Hold on. Do we want to talk about
the
sitting
base doesn't
places?
shoot back. The base doesn't shoot back. That doesn't count. Come on now.
Look, just because nobody can hit you from the top,
Oh,
because your head is the only thing that gets above that rail.
Oh,
You know, all you have to do is bring a little mirror with you.
there you go. Just reflect it right off there.
That's it. Like, you didn't hit me.
They also have quite the food and beverage lineup. The Photon Torpedo is always just so good. Always so good. They've got a wide number of games available. They really have, I would say, quite a variety of games out there, as well as Glow Golf is always a lot of fun. So, we had a good time over there at Laser Legend.
We did. And we gave you a little bit of a tour there as well.
That's true. You can find the video of the tour over at facebook.com/GYGO radio. Okay, so we have Star Trek Discovery starting to gear up, starting to come back from their mid-season break, and we can now confirm that there will be additional canon characters coming back to Discovery. Quote, this comes from Gretchen Berg, who's one of the creators at something called Paley Fest, Paley Fest, some type of a panel she was doing. And she said, quote, we are spending time with people when we introduce them, so we will be bringing back other canon characters. She did not say whom, but she did credit the success of Harry Mudd being back as kind of the inspiration for them to have additional canon characters. Goose, are we fans of this?
I think so. You want to bring back Cyrano Jones?
Sure.
Okay, I'm down with that.
Sounds good to me.
But please do not bring back King, Kor, Koloth, or any of the original crew. Because honestly, Kor would not be the same without John Plurkos.
I can agree with that.
And same thing with King and Koloth. Unless you can bring the actors back, which I'm pretty sure you can't because I think they're dead.
Now there's a lot of new technology that was introduced, like the Spore drive, which I have affectionately dubbed the fidget spinner in the 23rd century.
No, you didn't. You dubbed the discovery of this fidget spinner because the primary hole spins.
Well, yeah, that too. But so they asked about, so what's the deal? How come it wasn't utilized later in Star Trek, like in the Kirk series, if it's 10 years before? And they went on to say, the creators went on to say that it could be classified. Maybe it didn't work, so they stopped using it. He said there are 10 years until the original series, so there's time. Meaning, shut up. The writers will write themselves out of this little plot hole. Don't worry about it. In other Star Trek news, Will Wheaton is not happy with an upcoming Lego minifigure set that's being released. All the characters they're either smiling or they got straight faces, except for Wesley Crusher.
You know, I think you should all be nicer to Will Wheaton.
The way I treat my colleagues... Wait, what?
I said you ought to be nicer to Will Wheaton.
You mean Will Wheaton?
Yes, Will Wheaton.
Why are you saying it like that?
Well, I'm just saying you should be nicer to Will Wheaton. Will Wheaton seems like a nice guy.
Say wheat.
Wheat.
Now, say Will Wheaton.
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 Hey, did you hook up with Whoopi Goldberg on the show?
All the time.
So in this, Picard is smirking, Riker's smiling, Troy's smiling, even Worf is smiling.
I protest. I am not a merry man.
But Wesley, the figure, is crying, like openly crying, and he's not happy with this, saying, quote, he called the depiction of his character, this is from Will Wheaton himself, this is insulting and demeaning to everyone who loved that character when they were kids.
Which is like 5 people.
Yeah, I think it's like 5, maybe 4. Maybe
Will probably loved it, so that's 5.
Yeah, that would be 5.
You knew the character was in trouble when he had the rainbow bright uniform.
Yes, in fact, that's the Lego minifigure, is the rainbow bright uniform.
The season 1 acting ensign uniform.
That's right. Yeah, he admits that Wesley was a terribly written character and also says that there are 3 little words that haunt him to this very day.
But shut up, Wesley.
That would be it.
Yeah.
People still tweet that to him all the time, and then he blocks them on Twitter. Interestingly enough, he and Troy are the only ones to have that distinctive season 1 look. Worf has the gold uniform from later on, and then Riker has the beard.
From season 2 forward.
Late 2?
No.
Was it in
Came
2?
back in 2.
Okay. So that it's kind of interesting, that little mishmash, and of course he's the only one who's crying on there.
Is the leg jointed so that you could prop it up on a chair or table or
The Riker's leg?
The Riker leg?
Yeah, I don't think
Unfortunately,
so.
is not. It's a standard Lego.
it should be a special. There should be a special edition one so you can prop it up on a little one piece.
Or if you do a little action figure theater like Peter does, where you can have him come toward a chair and swing one leg over instead of sitting down like a normal person.
Right, of course.
Now, several years ago, Pez did a Star Trek Next Generation set. Wesley wasn't in it.
He was not in it at all. And Yar is not in this set either. Neither is Pulaski. So that, okay, minor characters, I suppose, but still, Will Wheaton is not happy. Dude, it's a Lego minifigure. What do you want? I mean,
Well, not even an official Lego minifigure.
Just be happy that you're a Lego minifigure and just move on. So, let's not blow this out of proportion, okay? It's a Lego minifigure. Will Wheaton, get over it, dude. At least you get one. I don't get one. Do you get one?
Well,
I did not get one like Will Wheaton.
Not like Will Wheaton?
Not like Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton.
You're just like a living Lego minifigure.
Pretty much. That's true. We'll be right back here after the bottom of the hour news break on 9:30 a.m. The Answer and 930amtheanswer.com. Alrighty, welcome back from the bottom of the hour news break. This is Get Your Geek On 9:30 a.m. The Answer Talk Radio. I am Dave Gramillion, and if you missed the first half of the show, we did a little kind of a preview and broke some news here regarding what the Han Solo movie has coming up for us. Little John Williams coming that way, and Christian Bale. Is he in? Is he out? You can listen to it on our award-nominated podcast. All of our shows get sent over to the podcast, and you can listen to that over at 930amtheanswer.com. You can find us also on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. We also talked some Star Trek news, including Will Wheaton and his little dilemma regarding the Lego minifigure. Oh, it made his figure cry. Oh, it's so terrible.
But shut up, Wesley.
Thank you very much for that one. So we went ahead and we covered that as well. Now, for the second half of the news, this is... it's always interesting when celebrities decide to sound off on the geeky world like they know what they're talking about. I always find it most amusing, and Jodie Foster has been no exception.
You are stupid. 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 And don't forget, you are stupid.
And just because she became big in the 70s.
I think you did a little too much LDS.
So Jodie Foster, you may know her from Silence of the Lambs and Contact and that sort of thing. She's sounded off for no reason in particular about comic book movies. She said in a recent interview, quote, "Studios making bad content in order to appeal to the masses and shareholders is like fracking. You get the best return right now, but you wreck the earth."
So I have a question. How do companies make their money?
That would be by making movies people want to go see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And people want to invest in the company that makes movies people want to go see, right?
I'm pretty sure.
That's the way it typically works?
I'm pretty sure. That
it's a vicious cycle.
Yes.
Yes.
As Michael Bay has demonstrated over and over again. So, yes. So now all of a sudden, comic book movies are like fracking, and they are wrecking the earth. Environmental message aside, I'm reasonably sure that Hollywood would be stinking it up for the past decade if it weren't for comic book movies. I'm reasonably sure. What was the last big movie prior to 2008 that really made a lot of money? Was Revenge of the Sith in 2005?
I'm sure it was a Fast and Furious movie somewhere.
There had to have been one in there at some point. So, it's keeping Hollywood afloat right now. Hate to break it to Jodie Foster, but she continues saying, quote, "It's ruining the viewing habits of the American population and then ultimately the rest of the world." I'm not even sure what that means. The viewing habits?
I have a thought on that. As a person who likes to go see movies and films, don't get me wrong, which there's a difference between the two. I think what she's saying is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jodie, you can feel free to contact me anytime.
Absolutely.
We're so used to go seeing popcorn movies that seeing a true film is not something we would be up for as a society after being more, watching a movie instead of experiencing a film.
Now, I can almost get along with that.
See, but I think it's more that she's actually scorned that she hasn't been invited to be in one of these blockbuster films, hence not getting the royalty check.
A little jealousy going on.
Or the merchandising money.
Let's face it. I mean, Hollywood is getting huge. Okay, and all of these blockbusters, the amount of money that is being thrown in. We had the controversy earlier this year with all the people in power. For her to say that the industry that I'm a part of is ruining the world, that's like saying, I'm giving people candy because I'm a dentist.
Well, but it's not the industry she's a part of. See, she's upset that it's the popcorn movies that are making all the money, whereas movies like The Greatest Showman.
Oh, The Greatest Showman was awesome.
But it's not going to pull down $250 million opening weekend.
I think that she's just mad there wasn't a sequel to Elysium.
Well, no.
That was probably the last big movie she was in, too, right?
That could be. That could very, very well be. Speaking of which, this is kind of interesting. I was looking this up on boxofficemojo.com. 2014, the highest grossing movie was American Sniper.
That was a good movie.
That was.
Highest grossing
Actually, that was a good
of
film.
all time.
That was a very good film. I'm not going to say it was a movie. It was
American Sniper beat out Hunger Games, Guardians of the Galaxy, and The Winter Soldier.
Good.
So there, Jodie, I hope you're happy. I'm sorry, Miss Foster. I hope you're happy because there you go. A movie beat out all these geeky movies. But it's the way that, we're trending now. We want these big time, geeky movies. That's sorry she's not a part of it.
Her implied derision of the genre.
What?
Is what gets me.
It gets better. Now, here's the last quote I want to play for our quote from this one. Quote, "Going to the movies has become like a theme park." End quote. I'm not exactly sure what that means either because which theaters have the roller coasters?
Well,
and how am I not on them?
I think I know kind of what she's talking about there too, because you have the D box, for instance, at some of the theaters.
Okay,
here in
that's
town.
true.
You have the reclining seats. You have the people bringing food to you, and you have all the character stuff outside of the theaters themselves in the lobby area where you can take pictures with them. So it could be something like that. And I know I already played it once this segment, but there's just something I want to play one more time.
Go ahead.
Do it.
You are stupid. 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 And don't forget, you are stupid.
Now, James Gunn has actually fired back at Jodie Foster on Twitter, and he said, "I think Foster looks at film in an old-fashioned way where spectacle film can't be thought-provoking. It's often true, but not always. Her belief system is pretty common and isn't totally without basis." And they're both right. These dumbed-down Michael Bay popcorn movies, all right, they're not thought-provoking. You don't leave the theater going, I never thought about this particular aspect of my life that way. I'm glad that movie showed it to me. Instead, it's explosions and glow sticks of destiny and space battles.
For all that we harp on Michael Bay movies, you know what it really sounds like most of the time?
What's that?
Oh, yes. I hate this. It is revolting.
More?
Please.
And that is entirely accurate because, we slam Michael Bay movies and we slam popcorn movies on occasion. And I was really not happy that Blade Runner 2049 and Valerian did not do well at the box office. I thought both of those movies deserved to be seen more times in the theater. But, it is what it is.
I'm going to tell on myself. I actually like Michael Bay movies. Sorry.
I do too. I like enjoy them by and large.
I like his cinematography.
Turn your brain off and,
No, well, it is entertaining. Like Armageddon.
Armageddon was wonderful.
I mean, come on. For one-liners, that movie
had
just
it.
rocks.
That's true.
That's
true.
And I actually like the first Transformers flick. I'm sorry, guys. It's
it
is, man. But
I have paid full price to see every single Transformers Michael Bay movie. I did not wait till I went to the discount theater.
Why am I in the minority on this? What? Really?
Yeah, well, man.
The only one I saw in the theater was the first one.
They're movies in disguise.
They're more than meets the eye.
I get it. But she is right in one aspect. A thought-provoking, really good, solid, character-driven film will always be drowned out by anything that has Star Wars slapped on it.
Or Marvel.
Or Marvel. Or in some cases, DC.
I don't know. The DC movies have been quite thought-provoking. As in, the thought is, why? Just why?
Yeah.
But let's look at the Academy. Okay, the Academy chooses Best Picture. What do you get? Out of Africa. Or you get Steel Magnolias.
Yep.
Or you get,
anything not geeky.
Anything not, unless it's special effects.
Annie Hall.
Or score. Sometimes they'll do score.
Or score. Okay, but basically it's always the behind-the-scenes stuff that gets the reward in the geek culture.
The visual effects
because
and whatnot.
we're breaking ground.
Yep.
In that area. Okay, because our ideas are fantastical, so they got to be put to film.
And maybe we're not the thought-provoking ones, but we are the visually provoking ones because it's geeks that gave us Tron.
Exactly.
Okay, it's geeks that gave us Pixar
or Black Hole.
Or Black Hole. That's another good, another
cutting
solid
edge at
example.
the time.
Toy Story. Came from geeks. The CGI from Jurassic Park. I mean, we are the visually provoking ones, maybe not the thought-provoking ones.
Industrial Light and Magic was founded by George Lucas to make Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So was Skywalker sound.
Absolutely.
Yep. And these are leading edge. These are the leaders in special effects at these days.
Now, I'm sorry that they're not all going to be, needing subtitles because they're speaking French and they're black and white pieces, and it focuses on a piece of fruit on the table while two characters fight. And I'm sorry they're not that thought-provoking ones, but geeky movies break ground in a lot of different ways, and I go to the movies to be entertained.
Absolutely.
Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to watch Citizen Kane or The Godfather or something truly thought-provoking like Inception. That's, talk about thought-provoking. But at the same time, you better believe I'm going to go see the Battle of Five Armies.
Yeah.
You better believe I'm going to go see, let's see, Black Panther. I'm not really going to predict that that's going to be a thought-provoking movie, but I'm going to go see it. But and then because movies have gotten so expensive nowadays, I'm not going to spend $30 for my wife and I to go see a thought-provoking movie I can see on Netflix.
That could be why you said it's like a theme park.
What, because it's on Netflix?
No, because it's so expensive.
Because it's so expensive. There you go.
I don't know. The theater by me still has $5 Tuesdays, so I'm happy.
Well, one of the theaters by me is one of the discount theaters. So as long as you're willing to wait till it comes out on DVD to go see it on the big screen, it's like $2.
Well, there you go.
Now, the last big-time movies to come out that I can see her point. I really can. The average ticket price in 2004 was $6.21, and the leading movie that year was Shrek 2.
Really? Shrek 2 in 2004?
Shrek 2 in 2004 is the highest grossing movie.
What other movies came out in 2000? Something had to one-up it. I can't believe Shrek took the cake.
Yeah, let's see. In 2004, the highest grossing movie, Shrek 2, it beat out Spider-Man 2.
I can see that.
And
Spider-Man 2 was a better movie, though.
It was. Passion of the Christ, The Incredibles, Harry Potter, and Prisoner of Azkaban were the highest grossing movies.
So a sequel.
Shrek 2.
Beat out everybody.
A DreamWorks sequel.
Most of those on that list were sequels, though.
Well, that's true. That's true as well. But a DreamWorks sequel, I mean, when was the last time that happened? So I can see it from both sides. But at the same time, these movies, they're not wrecking the earth. The comparison to fracking really is what kind of ticked me off a little bit. I get that she's liberal, she's left, that's fine. But at the same time, this is not ruining anything.
Neither's fracking, really.
I have to.
That too.
I gotta wave my geek flag because the first time I saw that quote today in the notes, I really thought she was making a Battlestar Galactica reference.
Oh, boy.
Very, very, very true indeed. Now, speaking of looking back into the past, this is the 10th anniversary of what we can honestly say here is when geek became mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's true back in 2002, 2005, we had the Star Wars prequels, and they were everywhere. And we had Star Trek movies, and they were everywhere. But it hasn't really inundated the culture quite as much as it did starting in 2008. 2005, the prequels wrapped up with Revenge of the Sith, but you didn't see people wearing Revenge of the Sith t-shirts on the Riverwalk every day. You did not see people wearing Shrek 2 t-shirts, which had come out in 2004. You didn't see that. Now there's Captain America cufflinks, and there's Iron Man t-shirts, and there's Spider-Man ties that people wear on Wall Street. Investment bankers are wearing this stuff on the Riverwalk, on Fifth Avenue. It doesn't matter. Geek is now everywhere, and we can attribute it back to 2008.
There was even a Spider-Man Broadway play.
There was. You're right. They had them
Wow.
swinging all over the place, and that was quite the experience from what I hear. So let's take a quick look back at 2008 and talk about the impact that it's had on geeks in general. And of course, you can't look back at 10 years ago without looking back at Iron Man.
I am Iron Man.
I mean, that movie right there really kicked it off.
Hang on.
How did you not have the Black Sabbath intro?
Well,
That's all he told me.
we got
to
time to
have.
worry about. So we got to run a show here. Otherwise, we could just be DJing all night. There we go.
There you go. Now I'm happy. Thank you, sir.
All right, there we go. Got to keep the guests happy. That's always important. So Iron Man, it's largely credited with resurrecting Rodney Downey Jr.'s career.
Ain't that the truth?
Uh-huh.
And it also kicked off the MCU. So let's talk about those two for a minute. Robert Downey Jr. had a lot of substance abuse problems. I mean, this guy lived the 80s.
He was keeping
And the 90s.
He was the Charlie Sheen before Charlie Sheen was Charlie Sheen.
Yeah,
He was.
He was keeping pace with Keith Richards.
That's about right.
Yep.
But he can say something that Charlie Sheen can't ever say.
He was in a Marvel movie?
No. He was a Saturday Night Live cast member.
Well, that's true. That's true. Now, Robert Downey Jr., when he was growing up, he was an up-and-coming, rising young star, and then he got in a problem with booze, pills, drugs, and all that sort of stuff. Fell right off the radar. And then, I don't know how they picked him. I don't know what I'd love to know the audition process. And then he became Iron Man.
I know exactly what it was. They looked at his bio and looked at Tony Stark's
Yep,
character, and
that's
it's like,
exactly
oh, okay.
That's like
boom.
Charlie Sheen playing Charlie on 2.5 Men. He didn't have to act; he just had to show up.
So maybe Robert Downey Jr. didn't fall off the radar. Maybe he spent 25 years preparing for the role
Perfecting
of
his
Tony Stark. That's what it was.
Because Tony Stark had what problems with alcohol, booze, and women.
That's about
Robert Downey Jr. had issues with
Alcohol,
all booze, and women.
There you go. So that brought his career back, and wow, that movie, I admit, it dragged in the middle, and you got problems with the villain toward the end. How come he could use the suit so quickly, yada, yada, yada. But at the same time, what a film.
Yeah.
Start to finish, it was a great movie. It hooked you right from the beginning, which is exactly what a good movie does.
Yes.
Right there is they're in the little Humvee, and there's all, no gang signs. You got to make, you take the picture and all that. It was perfect. They absolutely nailed it.
Now, I'm going to interject here because when I was a kid, I never really read X-Men. I really never read the comics that I read were different genre. When I wasn't necessarily superheroes, so I had really I knew who Iron Man was, but I never really knew the stories. And to watch it on the film, when they said we're launching with Iron Man, I said, "You got to be kidding!" Like they
everybody thought that.
You couldn't find a better character.
All the rest of them were tied up with licensing deals.
Exactly.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Because remember, we had the X-Men movies before.
Right.
X-Men,
And
the
they were
first movie
Fox.
came out in 2000.
And Spider-Man and Fantastic Four
Right.
and Blade and one or two others that I can't remember.
But it was Iron Man that really kicked off what we can now call the modern
Marvels,
age.
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of weird because we're pushing Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire trilogy, out of that what we can call the golden age. But it really did start with Iron Man. It was really the film that we needed at the time. Now, there was another film that came out in the same year, and it's a film that a lot of people were looking forward to. It's a film that a lot of people thought, man, this is going to be fantastic. The nostalgia is right there, and that was Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
You're a teacher?
Part-time.
My God, what was that nonsense?
Talk about the total opposite of perfection.
Really, I mean, right from the beginning of this film, you're like, what?
Okay, so spoiler alert. There's a point at the very end in the church.
Oh, well, hold on.
Wait.
Spoiler.
Spoiler.
All right, we're good.
All right.
So where the hat lands at Shia LaBeouf's feet,
Yep.
and he's taking the hat, and I'm like,
no.
You do that, I'm asking for my money back. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm pulling a Shia LaBeouf impression. No.
He gets it, and at the last second, Harrison Ford's like, oh, thank God.
I mean, that movie, start to finish, was just a mess.
Now, I did like the concept of Shia LaBeouf's character. I thought the idea that he could potentially be...
Sorry, we're freaking out because the Facebook chat just went bonkers, and we're gonna...
Somebody lost their mind.
Yeah, just a little bit. So please.
So
continue.
anyway, the concept of Shia LaBeouf's character was cool because he could be Marion's son. You know what I mean? And wow, that was a good way to tie the series, to bring it back to the first movie.
And he's Marion's son, but it's not necessarily guaranteed that it's Indy's son.
And he's a knife flipping, motorcycle riding, leather jacket,
James
delinquent.
Dean, right?
Yeah,
James Dean kind of guy.
Because it took place in the 50s.
Exactly, and they spaced it out correctly, and I thought, wow, this is going to be awesome.
And then just
meh.
Then they had to roll film.
Oh, gracious. Another movie that came out, this was one of the animated features, was WALL-E. WALL-E is 10 years old now, if that makes you feel, a little on the old side. By the way, Jurassic Park turns 35 years old.
No,
25 years old. So that's, but WALL-E turns 10, and also turning 10 is one of my favorite movies, and that is the first Kung Fu Panda movie.
Oh, you know this hold.
You're bluffing. You're bluffing! Shifu didn't teach you that.
Nope. I figured it out. Skidoo.
I love that movie, and in my opinion, one of the best fight scenes is when they're training over the dumpling. The one leftover dumpling is one of the best fight scenes I've ever seen. It's so well choreographed, and it's not even a fight. It's not...
It's chopstick warfare.
Yeah, like the Phantom Menace is, I'm a bad guy, you're a good guy, you have a red lightsaber, so we should fight. And it's like, oh, okay, I guess. But then this one, it's Shifu versus Po, and it's the dumpling that they're going after, and the way they keep it away from each other is so creative visually, and the animation is so brisk that it's one of the best fight scenes that I've ever seen, choreographed, animated or not. If you haven't seen Kung Fu Panda because you think it's too kiddie or whatever, trust me, go watch that film. Now there's a couple others that we're going to get to, and then we're going to talk Dark Knight. Don't worry, we're talking Dark Knight. The first Twilight movie came out in 200008.
That's all we're going to say about that.
Glittery, sparkly vampires. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Incredible Hulk also came out. That was the Edward Norton version of the Incredible Hulk.
I enjoyed that movie.
Which also dropped 60% after opening weekend.
You sure it wasn't a DC movie?
It was the DC movie of its time. Made almost half its domestic budget on opening weekend. It only made $263 million worldwide. It had $150 million budget. This movie, for whatever reason, the Incredible Hulk never took off.
I don't know why. Such a great character.
They just couldn't figure out how to do that guy right, I suppose. And then we have the movie of movies. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, the greatest comic book movie ever, including Superman 1978, and that would be The Dark Knight.
When the chips are down, these civilized people, they'll eat each other.
It's a fantastic film. Regardless of Heath Ledger, if it had been the Riddler in there instead of the Joker, it still would have been a great movie because it keeps you going throughout the film. You have the initial part where, okay, we got to go after the mob, and they do that. They do the Hong Kong thing. Then the mob turns to the Joker because there are consequences for each action that our heroes take.
Right.
You don't often see that in films. It's usually, all right, good guy beats up bad guy, we're good to go. Now it's good guy beats up bad guy turns to the Joker and says, all right, we're going to let the mad dog off the leash and see what happens. And then all hell just breaks loose. And it's an incredible film, just top to bottom. And then Heath Ledger is the cherry on top of the sundae. I have never seen an acting performance quite like that.
He encapsulated what it was to be the Joker, that psychopath.
To be the Joker of that time in 2005. Because over the years, there's been different types of Jokers.
Yes, and certain Jokers fit the media that they were in.
Yes, there you go.
That's true. Jack Nicholson it's 1 and 1A, okay, but Heath Ledger brought us so many different parts of the Joker. He brought a little Cesar Romero. He brought a little Jack. He brought in a little Heath Ledger. And what I loved is that his story kept changing about the scars. You want to know how I got these scars? And the story kept changing, showing the madness within.
He even brought in a tad bit of Mark Hamill.
There was a little bit with the laugh and whatnot in there. So the movie was just, the ending did drag a little bit, and there was why they couldn't pin everything on the Joker. I never understood.
Well, what I liked was the fact that they realized the Joker would have won had Harvey Dent actually been revealed as the bad guy,
as Two-Face. Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I think that making that realization, listen, we need to keep the image of the hero alive.
So our heroes have to bend themselves. They have to bend their ethics. Tonight you're going to break your one rule. And that's the idea, is that the Joker does ultimately win in the end because our heroes have to bend the truth. And they have to
bend their morals as well and their ethics.
Now, I love the 78 Superman film, which, by the way, turns 40 this year. Gene Hackman's brilliant. Christopher Reeve is brilliant. The story's brilliant. The setting's brilliant. It's just that ending.
Yeah.
The beginning drags a little bit. You know, the Fortress of Solitude scene where he's climbing through the Arctic, and you're like, okay, dude, come on. Quit padding the runtime, all right? But the ending just...
going back and that whole spinning the Earth backwards, going backwards.
And now we have two Supermen. Technically, we should, but we don't. It's a mess. But it was the Joker in this one. It's the standard. Jared Leto, poor guy. I mean, he just couldn't compete.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I felt, I think he's the benchmark. Heath Ledger is he's the eternal Joker now, and it's, you're going to have, of course, different media. Will have their, like I said, their high spot, like Cesar Romero for TV, Joker for, Mark Hamill for animated. But on film,
absolutely,
you have.
So that'll wrap it up here. If you want to tweet at us, you can find us at GYGO_official. You can shoot me an email at davethehost@getyourgeekon.org. For Goose, for Paul, our guest, and for myself, I do want to thank our sponsors, Laser Legend and the Mailing Spots. Thank you for listening. Be excellent to each other, and make sure to get your geek on every single day.